11 high-level mindsets to help you succeed. Early in the journey to find success, many people often think that innate talent or relentless effort are the determining factors. However, if you observe closely, you will notice that there are very skilled and hard-working individuals who still struggle in stagnation, while there are others who, although not more outstanding, know how to turn the situation around and achieve remarkable results. The biggest difference lies in mindset. Mindset is the filter through which we perceive the world, a tool for analyzing problems, and a guiding principle for all actions. A correct mindset helps us turn difficulties into opportunities, while a narrow mindset can cause us to miss important doors in life. In other words, success depends not only on how hard you work, but also on how you think and respond to changes. In a constantly changing society, only those who know how to innovate their thinking, ask different questions, and dare to look beyond the present can break through. It is this mindset that will determine whether you are someone who follows circumstances or someone who masters them. In this article, we will explore 11 core mindsets, the maps that will guide you on your journey of personal development and achieving success. These are not just dry principles, but are illustrated with practical, relatable examples so that you can apply them immediately in your life and career. If you find this topic useful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the Master Your Finances channel to continue joining us on the journey to conquer knowledge and financial freedom. Part 1. Adaptability in nature. The strongest are not the largest species nor the most agile, but those that know how to adapt. This is also true for human life and careers. Adaptability does not mean passively accepting everything, but rather the ability to observe, flexibly change, and find the right direction in each circumstance. Consider the significant changes in the world over the past few years: the pandemic, economic crisis, the rise of artificial intelligence technology. Those who know how to adapt quickly found ways to learn new skills, change business models, or shift their work to an online environment. Meanwhile, those who clung to old habits were left behind. A typical example is the story of the retail industry. When e-commerce exploded, many traditional businesses that could not adapt quickly went bankrupt. In contrast, agile brands that adopted online sales models not only survived but also thrived. Adapting, therefore, is the key that helps us survive and grow in an ever-changing world. The same applies to personal life. An adaptive mindset helps us face failure without collapsing and confront change without confusion. Those with this mindset view challenges as opportunities to learn and improve themselves. If they lose their job, they will acquire new skills. If they encounter failure, they will draw lessons and start again. It is important to train yourself to be flexible in your thinking. Never believe that a formula for success will apply forever. The world is always changing, and what works today may become outdated tomorrow. Adapting is the ability to continuously update yourself, keep an open mind, and be ready to step out of your comfort zone. Remember, those who know how to adapt not only survive but also go further than they ever imagined. Part 2. Probabilistic thinking in life. Many people fail not because they lack talent, but because they make decisions based on absolute intuition, believing that something will definitely happen or definitely not happen. But the truth is, life rarely has what is called 100% certainty. Everything is about probability, and those who can view the world through a probabilistic lens will have a significant advantage. For example, when you invest in a business, if you only look at one signal, such as increasing profits, you might think it is guaranteed to succeed. But probabilistic thinking forces you to ask questions. What is the likelihood that this business will continue to grow? What is the likelihood that market changes will cause it to decline? This perspective will help you avoid being blind and prepare for various scenarios. A prominent example in history is Warren Buffett. He never makes investment decisions based on a momentary inspiration. Instead, he analyzes possible scenarios and chooses based on the probabilities that yield the highest long-term results. This explains why he has become one of the greatest investors in the world. In everyday life, probabilistic thinking is also extremely important. When you choose a career, get married, or even travel, there are elements of risk and surprise. A person with a probabilistic mindset does not expect everything to go perfectly, but prepares for multiple scenarios. Some may be favorable, some may be challenging, and also how to cope if unexpected events occur. The bottom line is, don't ask whether something will certainly happen, but rather ask what the likelihood of each scenario is. From there, you can allocate resources, time, and effort wisely. This mindset does not make you a pessimist. It makes you realistic and adaptable. You will know how to minimize risks, increase the likelihood of success, and never be completely caught off guard. Remember, wise people never place all their trust in a single outcome. They understand that life is a game of probabilities, and their task is to play that game better than others. Part 3. Leverage thinking. In the journey to achieve success, hard work is necessary, but relying solely on individual effort can easily lead to limitations. Successful people not only ask, "What can I do?" but also ask, "How can one action of mine create multiple results?" This is leverage thinking, the art of using little to create much. Consider the physical lever that Archimedes once mentioned. Give me a place to stand, and I will lift the earth. In life and business, that place to stand can be technology, capital, a network of relationships or knowledge. Those who understand how to leverage will achieve far greater accomplishments than those who only rely on their own strength. Practical example. Elon Musk does not directly manufacture each screw. For SpaceX or Tesla, he leverages people, assembling a team of top engineers and scientists. And leverage is capital, raising enormous financial resources from investors. As a result, he can undertake projects that an individual could never accomplish. In daily life, you can also apply this mindset. Instead of working 14 hours a day to earn a little extra income, think about how to use technology, like automation software, or knowledge like financial skills, to make money work for you. A book you write can be republished thousands of times. That is also a leverage of knowledge. The most important point is, ordinary people work hard to exchange for one-to-one results, while those with a leverage mindset always seek ways for each effort to become one-to-many. They understand that time and energy are finite, but systems, tools, and people can be expanded infinitely. This does not mean you are lazy. On the contrary, you must be smart in choosing the leverage to invest your efforts in. When you choose correctly, you will multiply your results many times over without exhausting yourself. Remember, no one achieves great success solely through their own efforts. All great leaders, entrepreneurs, and thinkers rely on leverage. And you can do the same, from learning, building networks to applying technology and capital. Part 4. Four-dimensional thinking. When we think, most of us view things in a two-dimensional way. Right or wrong, benefit or harm, success or failure. More advanced individuals may see in 3 dimensions, adding perspectives of time, context, and multifaceted impact. However, to truly break through, you need to think in 4 dimensions, meaning looking at things not only in the present, but also in the long-term future, considering different scenarios and understanding indirect consequences. A classic example is Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon. When building Amazon, he didn't just think about selling books online, short-term. He looked further, how the internet would develop, how e-commerce could become a global trend, and what technological infrastructure would be needed to survive in the next 20-30 years. This 4-dimensional thinking is what transformed Amazon from a small bookstore into a massive global corporation. Thinking in 4 dimensions helps you avoid falling into the trap of short-term success but long-term failure. For example, many companies chase short-term profits by cutting costs, but they forget that this can affect product quality and lose customers in the future. A person with a 4-dimensional mindset will ask, will this benefit me in the next 5 or 10 years? Are there any consequences I haven't seen? In personal life, this mindset is equally important. When you decide to learn a new skill, the results are not just measured in a few months. It can change your entire career in the next 10 years. Or when you choose to invest, you should not only look at today's profits, but also at long-term trends, market cycles, and potential risks. The 4-dimensional thinking also requires you to train your ability to hypothesize. This means not only looking at one scenario, but also preparing for multiple different scenarios. Like a chess player, they do not just think about the next move, but calculate 5 to 10 moves ahead, even considering the opponent's unexpected reactions. The core idea here is that successful people do not live only in the present, but always connect the present with the future. They see the chain consequences, both positive and negative, to make wise choices. If you want to go far, practice putting yourself in a four-dimensional mindset. Not only ask, what is the benefit of this today, but also what impact will it have in 10 years? Not only look at one path, but also prepare plans for other turns. Not only chase immediate benefits, but also lay the groundwork for long-term gains. Part 5. Upstream thinking. Most people are accustomed to addressing consequences rather than finding ways to prevent root causes. This is the difference between downstream thinking and upstream thinking. Imagine a river. Downstream you see waste floating by, and you hurriedly try to collect it, but the waste keeps appearing day after day. A person with upstream thinking will not stop at just collecting the waste, but will go upstream to find out why there is waste, where it is coming from, and address the issue at its source. In business, upstream thinking is extremely important. A company constantly faces customer complaints. Instead of just increasing customer service staff to put out fires, a leader with upstream thinking will ask, why are customers complaining in the first place? Is the problem in production, design, or the delivery process? By addressing the root cause, they not only reduce complaints but also save costs, enhance customer experience, and create a sustainable competitive advantage. For example, Toyota became famous for its Kaizen system, continuous improvement. They encourage employees to stop the production line as soon as they detect the slightest error, preventing that error from going downstream. By stopping the error at the source, Toyota has built a sustainable quality brand for decades. In personal life, upstream thinking also makes a significant difference. Many people only focus on curing when their health declines, but those with upstream thinking emphasize prevention, eating healthy, exercising, and having regular checkups. Similarly in finance, instead of struggling to pay off debts after overspending, those with upstream thinking will establish spending discipline and savings plans from the beginning. The key point of upstream thinking is being proactive rather than reactive. It requires you to look further, not just to address surface issues, but to dissect the root causes. When faced with a problem, practice asking questions multiple times. Why did this happen? 5 whys. Ask why 5 times. Often after 4 to 5 times, you will uncover the true root of the issue. People with upstream thinking often create breakthroughs. They are not caught up in the cycle of extinguishing consequences, but focus on building systems, rules, and solutions that help prevent problems before they arise. Part 6. The lazy ant effect in nature. Ants have a very interesting characteristic. Not all of them work continuously. In fact, many ants in the colony often seem lazy, appearing to do nothing at all. However, scientists have discovered that these lazy ants actually play a crucial backup role. When the hard-working ants become tired or encounter problems, the colony immediately mobilizes the lazy group to take over. As a result, the system operates sustainably and never comes to a halt. This is the lazy ant effect, a natural law regarding resource allocation and adaptability. In life and work, most of us get caught up in the thought that we must work at 100% capacity all the time to succeed. But in reality, humans are not machines. If we continuously push ourselves to operate at full capacity, we are likely to fall into exhaustion, make mistakes, and lose our creativity. On the contrary, if we know how to allocate our energy and allow ourselves moments of laziness at the right times, we can maintain long-term endurance and clarity. Take a look at successful leaders, artists, or entrepreneurs. Many of them have the habit of taking time to rest, reflect, or simply do nothing. Bill Gates is famous for his Think Week, a time when he steps away from his daily work to read, write, and think about the future. It is during these lazy moments that he has come up with many strategic ideas that changed Microsoft. The lazy ant effect also reminds us about resource management within organizations. A company that continuously forces its employees to work excessively will quickly fall into a state of exhaustion, leading to decreased performance. However, a company that knows how to build contingency mechanisms, such as reasonable task delegation, allowing for rest, and training replacement personnel will create sustainability similar to that of an ant colony. On an individual level, you can apply this effect by establishing a reasonable work-rest rhythm. Instead of working continuously for 10 hours, apply the Pomodoro technique. Work for 50 minutes, rest for 10 minutes, or take one day off each week to recover. Allocating time for idle thinking. Creative ideas often emerge when we take a walk, sit in a cafe, or simply relax rather than when we are stressed at our desks. Prepare a plan B. Like ants, you should have backup plans for your finances, work, and personal life. Lesson learned. Sometimes being lazy in the right way is a form of wisdom. Resting, planning ahead, and allocating resources wisely help you not only maintain high efficiency, but also achieve long-term and stable growth. Part 7. Environmental framing in psychology. There is a very interesting concept, the framing effect. It indicates that the way an issue is framed or presented will significantly influence people's decisions and actions. For example, when a doctor says this medication has a 90% success rate, the patient often feels much more reassured than when they hear, this medication has a 10% chance of failure, even though the two figures are exactly the same. In life, we are also frequently influenced by framing. An investment opportunity presented as a chance for quick profits will be much more appealing than when it is described as high risk, with a possibility of losing capital, even though both descriptions are accurate. Therefore, successful people not only look at the facts, but also analyze how those facts are framed. Cao Cao in The Three Kingdoms is a typical example. When called a villainous hero by others, he did not refute it but turned it into an advantage. I would rather betray others than let others betray me. For him, a bad reputation was merely a type of framework that he accepted to achieve a greater goal, unifying the world. This demonstrates the ability to see through layers of prejudice and focus on the core of the issue. In business, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, also excellently applies the framework thinking. While many view e-commerce as just a small segment of the retail market, he framed it differently. This is the future of the entire retail industry. By changing the perspective, Bezos has stayed a step ahead of the world. So how can we apply contextual thinking? Ask reverse questions. When you hear a number or information, try asking, if it were expressed differently, would I change my decision? Break free from the framework set by others. Media, advertising, and even the surrounding environment shape the way we think. A person with contextual thinking will actively restructure information instead of being led. Create a positive context for yourself. For example, instead of saying that I have failed, reframe it as, I just gained a valuable learning experience. The same event, but the framing will determine the emotions and subsequent actions. The most important thing is to realize that context is not an absolute truth, but just a perspective. When you learn to change or redefine the context, you will open up more opportunities and avoid falling into the thought traps created by others. Part 8. Shifting direction in life and career. The path we choose is not always a straight line leading to success. There are times when, despite our best efforts, everything still seems to be at a standstill. Those who lack flexibility will continue to crash into the wall, while those with a shifting direction mindset will stop, observe, and seek an alternative path. Shifting direction does not mean giving up. It means finding a smarter way to achieve the same goal. One of the most famous examples is Thomas Edison. When researching the electric light bulb, he tested over 1,000 types of materials for the filament before discovering tungsten. Many people considered that a failure, but Edison shifted his perspective. I have not failed. I have just found 1,000 ways that won't work. It is precisely because of this shifting direction mindset that the world has the electric light we enjoy today. In Chinese history, Cao Cao also changed his strategic direction multiple times. When his power was still weak, he did not confront Yuan Shao directly, who had an army several times larger, but instead shifted his focus, accumulated strength, and built the people's support. Later, at the Battle of Guandu, thanks to a surprise strategy and timely execution, he defeated an opponent who seemed invincible. If Cao Cao had not known how to change direction, the history of the Three Kingdoms might have been very different. In the modern world, Entrepreneur Elon Musk is also a clear example. Initially, he focused on the software technology sector, Zip2 PayPal. After selling PayPal instead of continuing down the path of success, Musk shifted to electric vehicles, Tesla, and space, SpaceX. This decision was seen as crazy at the time, but thanks to his timely change in direction, Musk has become one of the leaders in transforming the global industry. How can we cultivate a mindset for pivoting? View failure as feedback. Instead of seeing failure as the end, consider it data to adjust your strategy. Dare to break the mold. Sometimes, pivoting simply means trying a different approach instead of clinging to the familiar way. Stay focused on the goal, but be flexible with the path. You can change your route, but don't forget the ultimate destination. A pivoting mindset is an essential skill in an ever-changing world. Those who can pivot in time not only avoid failure, but can also turn challenges into opportunities, potentially creating significant turning points in their careers and lives. Part 9. The filling the hole. Mindset. In the journey of life, everyone has their own holes, weaknesses, shortcomings, or personal obstacles that make us prone to stumbling. Intelligent people do not try to hide or ignore these gaps. Instead, they learn to face them head-on and fill them in. This is the essence of the filling the hole mindset: identifying the problem, addressing it at its root, and transforming limitations into strengths. A famous story illustrating this mindset comes from Abraham Lincoln. Before becoming the President of the United States, Lincoln faced repeated failures in business, lost multiple elections, and endured personal tragedies with the loss of his wife and children. His greatest weakness was his lack of stability in both mental and financial aspects. However, instead of giving up, Lincoln filled the hole by acquiring legal knowledge, honing his oratory skills, and learning to manage his emotions. As a result, he became one of the greatest leaders, guiding America through the Civil War. In Eastern history, we also see an example in Confucius. He came from a poor background and did not have the educational opportunities of the noble class. Instead of allowing that hole to bury him, Confucius actively sought knowledge from anyone, regardless of social class. When three people walk together, there must be one who can be my teacher. This spirit of filling the hole helped him become a wise sage, leaving a profound influence for thousands of years. In modern times, we can see this image in startup entrepreneurs. Jack Ma, before founding Alibaba, was rejected dozens of times when applying for jobs, including at KFC. His weakness was not being skilled in technology, but instead of giving up, Jack Ma filled the gaps by hiring and collaborating with talented engineers, focusing on vision and strategy. As a result, he built one of the largest e-commerce corporations in the world. To cultivate the fill the gaps mindset, one can start with clearly identifying weaknesses. Don't avoid it. Write down specifically what skills, knowledge, or habits you are lacking. Finding practical solutions, learn, seek help, or create systems to address the gaps. Persistence and consistency. Filling the holes is not a one-day task, but a process. Life does not require you to be perfect from the start, but it does require you to know how to repair and gradually improve yourself. A person who knows how to fill the holes is someone who turns weaknesses into stepping stones to walk more firmly on the long journey. Part 10. Barrel Theory. There is a well-known story in management philosophy and personal development. A wooden barrel can only hold water up to the height of its shortest plank. This is a famous metaphor for barrel theory. A person or an organization should not be evaluated by their strongest point, but by their weakest point. In reality, many people often take pride in their outstanding strengths, an excellent skill and impressive achievement. However, what limits development are the shortcomings that have not been addressed. For example, an entrepreneur with great strategic vision but lacking financial management skills may find that this weakness could lead to the company's downfall. A historical example is the Qing dynasty in the late 19th century. Despite possessing vast territory and abundant resources, their critical weakness was stagnation in military and technological reforms. As the West and Japan modernized rapidly, this short plank made China an easy target to be torn apart during the Opium Wars and the Century of Humiliation. On the contrary, There are individuals who know how to recognize their own shortboards and actively fill them in. Remember the story of Thomas Edison. He was not good at complex calculations and was even considered slow by his teacher. But Edison did not let that shortboard hold him back. He compensated with perseverance, thousands of experiments, and the ability to turn ideas into practical products. As a result, Edison became one of the greatest inventors in human history. In the modern world, corporations also apply the thinking of the wooden barrel. Apple not only focuses on beautiful design, but also invests heavily in supply chain and after-sales service, ensuring that no shortboard diminishes the customer experience. In contrast, companies that focus solely on one area while neglecting other weaknesses quickly fall behind. To cultivate this mindset, you can apply 3 steps. Honest self-assessment. Identify the short planks in your life or work. Systematic improvement actions. If you lack communication skills, take a course, practice public speaking, or find an environment to train. Maintain balance. Not all planks need to be excessively long. They just need to be long enough for the barrel to hold more water each day. The wooden barrel mindset teaches us an important truth. Your weaknesses determine your growth ceiling. A wise person not only takes pride in their strengths, but also diligently works to overcome their weaknesses, so that the barrel of life can hold more value and be more sustainable. Part 11. Empty Cup Mindset. There is a famous Zen story that goes, a scholar came to seek learning from a Zen master. When tea was poured for him, his cup overflowed, yet he continued to speak without pause. The Zen master said, "You are like this cup of tea. When it is full, it cannot hold more. To learn, you must first empty your cup." This embodies the spirit of the empty cup mindset, the willingness to set aside one's ego, biases, and complacency to open oneself to learning. In life, many people fail not because they lack knowledge, but because they believe they already know enough. Take a moment to reflect on great individuals. Confucius once said, "To know is to say that you know, to not know is to say that you do not know." That is true knowledge. It is this humility that helped him become a sage, respected even 1,000 years later. In modern science, Albert Einstein also admitted, "I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious." This is a clear image of an empty cup, always ready to receive new things. In business, the most successful corporations are often those that continuously learn and innovate. Netflix was once just a DVD rental service, but they did not have a full cup and were always ready to change. They transitioned to streaming and then produced original content, becoming a global giant. In contrast, Blockbuster was complacent, clinging to its old model, and ultimately disappeared. The mindset of an empty cup does not mean completely denying old knowledge and experience, but rather knowing how to set them aside to embrace the new. When you enter a new environment, try asking yourself, what can I learn from this person, this situation? Instead of imposing old thoughts, you broaden your perspective and easily find opportunities. To cultivate this mindset, you can start with 3 steps. Be humble before knowledge. Always remind yourself that what you know is just a drop in the ocean. Practice listening. Listen more than you speak, as sometimes just a small piece of sharing can change the way you view a problem. Dare to challenge yourself. Put yourself in new environments, learn new skills, and engage in conversations with people who have different perspectives. The empty cup mindset teaches us that only when you are willing to set aside your ego and complacency can you truly receive, innovate, and grow. And before we conclude this journey of 11 mindsets, remember to like the video and subscribe to the Master Your Finances channel so you don't miss out on life-changing lessons. Because only when you keep your cup empty are you ready to embrace new values leading to a better future.